that what you mean?
Yes.
So when we think about pelagic larvae, larvae of fishes and barnacles and lots of invertebrates, they are pelagic, which means they're up in the water column feeding. I mean, some larvae tend to stay closer to the bottom and hide around seaweeds and seagrasses and stuff. But most of these larvae are actually up, in the surface, up in the water column. When they decide it's time to settle and they found a new place to live, then they come down to the bottom and metamorphose.
I'm thinking like, maybe like where they are, their surroundings is kind of like within the center, and whatever they have to determines the metamorphosis and everything.
Well, I guess in a broad sense you could think of it like that. Right? Their environment is what's nourishing them. Yeah. So when we think about these larvae, we can actually think about two specific types of larvae, right? And this is important. This would be a tough one. Right? So we either have planktotrophic larvae or we have lessotrophic larvae. So when we talk about planktotrophic larvae, we're talking about larvae that are small. They're hatched, they're fertilized from very small eggs. They're free swimming in the plankton. They're swimming up the water column. The eggs that they're fertilized from have very little energy in them. They have very little yolk. So little energy investment from the parent, which means they're planktotrophic. Planktotrophic, they have to eat. Trophic, in the water column, in the plankton, up in the plankton, right? So they eat plankton. They depend on the plankton for their food and their development, right? So they don't have a lot of onboard energy. They have to eat up in the water column. The mortality of this type of larvae tends to be high because they often are in areas that don't give them enough food for development. They often have long development times, so their dispersal distance. So for larvae that have a long development time, it takes them a long time before they get to the stage where they're ready to settle back to the bottom. As long as they're developing, they're being dispersed by the currents, the tides. So the longer the development time, the bigger the dispersal time. Right? So planktotrophic larvae have a longer dispersal time. They can be up in the water column anywhere from days to months. And they can move hundreds of kilometers from where they're actually spawned, where they were fertilized. So the other larval type is a lessotrophic larvae. So when you see a prefix like lesotho, that often refers to something like an egg, right? So egg, trophic, egg eating. So these lessotrophic are typically much larger than planktotrophic because they have a lot of yolk, a lot of energy in those eggs when they're fertilized. So the parent individuals of lessotrophic larvae put a lot of energy in those eggs. So those eggs are big,